I am Elda, 28 years old. I married my husband, Elf, last year. I met Elf when I was in college. I went to a distant university and stayed there for work. My family home is so far away I can't get back without flying. Being someone who loved her family, this was pretty tough for me. That's when Elf was there to support me. Even after getting married, I can only visit a few times a year because it's expensive and time-consuming. In contrast to me, Elf's family home is close, about an hour's drive away. Elf's family is really close-knit, and I always felt they were similar to my family in some way. Elf has a younger sister named Anne. Their parents both worked, so they have a very strong and endearing sibling bond. Anne always turns to Elf when she's in trouble. Being an only child, I've always envied their relationship. I love how Elf reluctantly agrees to Anne's request with such kindness. Even after we got married, Anne would often ask Elf for favors. She comes over almost every week with her cute little whims. I adore Anne like she's my own younger sister. I'm so glad Elda is my big brother's wife. I've always wanted an older sister. Our relationship is really great. However, since Anne got a boyfriend, she's been asking Elf for less. When she comes over, she happily talks about her kind boyfriend. I always looked forward to hearing Anne's happy stories, and finally, her love bore fruit and she was going to get married. I was as happy as if it were my own joy seeing her always so excited about her boyfriend and dreaming of marriage. She even consulted me about the wedding preparations and the surprise she was planning for him. The venue was where Elf and I had our wedding. Anne had always admired our wedding and said, "I definitely want it here." The venue is known for its handmade weddings. You can use your favorite cake shop, catering, and florist. It's a bit of work to arrange everything yourself, but it's so much fun. Anne and I went to cake and flower shops together and found something special. The cake was unique, with a character that Anne's boyfriend loves. We were all looking forward to seeing it for the first time on the wedding day. Then the big day finally arrived. I was so excited and got ready early. I had a hair appointment at the salon, so I sent Elf to the venue first. My hair turned out just as I wanted, and I was thrilled. But when I checked my phone, I saw several missed calls from Elf. Worried, I called back, and a frantic Elf answered, "The wedding is off. The venue has been cancelled." I couldn't understand. Cancelled? Why? That's impossible. Who cancelled it? Elf replied, "It seems to be cancelled under Anne's name, but there's no way Anne would do that." Of course Anne wouldn't. She was so excited. Cancelling was unthinkable. "Not just the venue, but the cake and flower shop cancellations were under your name, Elda." "It seems only we knew those shops." I was stunned. "No way I would do that, Elf. You have to explain." "I tried, but Anne started accusing you and collapsed in tears, saying she trusted you." Elf sounded troubled. I was worried about Anne and said I would come right away, but Elf strongly advised against it. "The relatives think you're the culprit. They're furious and looking for you. It's dangerous. They might be waiting at the train station." I was scared by the misunderstanding. Following Elf's advice, I decided not to go and headed home instead. "Okay, I'll head home. Let me know if you find out anything about Anne." Elf urgently said, "Don't go home. The relatives are heading there. We can explain later, but for now it's best to run. I'm worried about you being alone. Let's stay apart for a while. I'll handle the relatives coming to our house. We can explain when things cool down." When I was told that, I became afraid to go home. I immediately contacted my best friend, Salah. Salah was surprised but welcomed me. While talking about the incident at Salah's house, the intercom rang. We looked at the monitor, flustered, and saw relatives from both families unexpectedly there. Salah said, "Leave it to me. This is my forte. Just relax here," and went to the door. I could hear the conversation, but Salah handled it firmly. The relatives shouting my name filled me with fear. Their voices grew louder and turned into yells. They tried to force their way into the house. They banged and kicked the door like debt collectors. 20 minutes had passed since the relatives arrived. Salah was still arguing with them at the door. Then one of the relatives kicked the umbrella stand loudly, breaking it. I felt terrible for troubling Sala and angry at the same time, so I went to the door. Seeing me, a relative lunged at me. I thought talking would solve it, but I was wrong. Just as Sala tried to stop them, a police officer arrived. It seems a neighbor had called them due to the shouting. "What's going on here? This is property damage. Step away from her right now." The arrival of the officer brought sudden silence. The relatives calmed down instantly. Their previous bravado disappeared. The officer suggested, "Let's discuss this at the station. Either way, it's not right for adults to behave this way towards a young woman. You've also broken the umbrella stand. This could lead to a lawsuit. What happened here? I understand something serious must have occurred, but this is embarrassing, isn't it?" Then the relatives said, "It's Elda's fault for running away. If she hadn't, this wouldn't have happened. We were angry because she canceled the wedding and collapsed from the shock." I immediately responded, "I didn't cancel anything. Can't you see? I was at the hair salon getting ready for the wedding. I was looking forward to Anne's wedding as much as anyone. Why would I cancel it? How is Anne now? That's my only concern." The relatives calmed down and were at a loss for words seeing me. I was all set with my hairstyle. I was dressed in a new party dress I bought for the day. Then Sala said, "It seems there's a big misunderstanding. We should set up a place to talk. Let's arrange a meeting with Anne, Elf, Elda, and the relatives. Anne must be going through a tough time mentally." The relatives agreed. They were clearly intimidated by the police officer and behaved very differently from before. The officer then said, "Since property has been damaged, we need to hear this at the station. Please come with us." At the police station, the officer said, "I understand being upset about a wedding cancellation, but she says she didn't do it. It must be frightening to have people suddenly yelling at you. This is property damage and it could lead to arrest." The relatives regained their composure and apologized to me and Sala. They didn't want to escalate the situation, and Sala said, "If you compensate for the damage, I won't sue, but that umbrella stand was expensive. Is that okay?" The relatives replied, "We'll compensate for any amount. We're sorry for breaking something important." The officer, looking exasperated, told Sala, "Make sure they compensate you," and then turned to the relatives. "You should be thankful she's not suing you." He said, "We agreed on compensation for the property damage." A week later, we arranged a meeting, but there was to be no contact until then. On the day of the meeting, it turns out Sala is a lawyer. Negotiation is her specialty. About this matter, it's definitely a winning battle, so don't worry. Let's just focus on clearing up Anne's misunderstanding. Honestly, the relatives are the least of our concerns. My always positive best friend was a lifesaver. Then Sala told me something unexpected. "Hey, remember I asked a private detective to investigate Elf and the relatives? The results are in and they're shocking. Do you have the courage to hear it, Elda?" Though I had a bad feeling about it, I was surprised at my calm response. "Of course, if the truth is out, don't hold back." Sala smiled and said, "Did you notice Elf was cheating and we found out who impersonated Anne to cancel everything?" "Elf? Cheating?" I had never considered it, but looking back, there were signs. His sudden increase in overtime, staying out overnight, always having his phone with him, locked at all times. It made sense why he hadn't contacted me at all since the incident. I felt my feelings for him cooling rapidly. Sala continued, "It might seem unrelated to the cancellation, but the culprit is Elsa's affair partner." I was speechless. I asked, "Is it someone I know, a friend of Anne's?" Sala, with a look of disgust, said, "Elsa's affair partner is one of Anne's relatives. Elf, scared of running into her at the wedding, fed her information and made it look like you canceled everything. I struggled to comprehend this bizarre situation." Sala went on, "And the worst part? Elf's with her right now, telling you to run away and suggesting separation while he's out having fun with her. It's infuriating and shallow." No tears came to my eyes, just regret for having such a pathetic husband. I didn't want to see his face anymore. Then the meeting day arrived and the relatives came. Looking guilty and carrying gifts, they were surprised to learn Sala was a lawyer. As Sala revealed the truth, their relatives' expressions darkened. Their earlier bravado was gone. They couldn't even lift their heads, but I didn't intend to blame them forever. Once they understood the facts, that was enough. They would soon be strangers to me. There was no need to understand each other. Relieved that the suspicions were cleared, The relatives' anger turned towards Elf and his mistress. They said Anne seemed to have recovered but didn't know the truth yet. I had mixed feelings about seeing her. Then Elf arrived, having been given a later time. Actually, I had told Elf that our meeting time was an hour late. We planned to explain everything to our relatives before confronting Elf about the affair. Sensing the tense atmosphere, Elf felt uneasy. "Just sit down, Elf. There's a lot I need to tell you. Brace yourself." I couldn't hold back my anger anymore and told him. Elf, shocked by my outburst, was speechless. Sala calmly started revealing Elf's affair. Initially, Elf played dumb, but as the detective's photos of him splurging during our separation were presented, the relatives exclaimed, "You dare to make excuses in this situation, pretending Elda canceled the wedding while you were cheating? What a liar!" I felt vindicated. No wonder the relatives were so eager to find me. And then the main point. I brought up divorce, citing the revelations as a reason. Then Elf suddenly raised his voice and started crying. His crying shocked me, and I struggled to suppress my laughter. Seeing him cry didn't make me think I still love Elf. On the contrary, I admired myself for wanting a divorce. I told him, "How can you even say that? You canceled your cute younger sister's wedding just to avoid running into your affair partner, hurting her in the process? And what were you doing this past week? You didn't contact me at all, right? Lying about separating for my safety while indulging in your affair every day? Well, thanks to that, we got plenty of evidence. Frankly, I didn't even want to see your face today." Uncle also chimed in. "You selfishly messed up your sister's life. Apologize to Anne first." Everyone was furious with Elf's behavior. Sela, looking at the dejected Elf, said, "If you don't understand, this will go to court. It will surely be a losing battle for you, Elf, but if you're okay with that, we are ready to take it on." Elf, overwhelmed by Sala's firm stance, whispered in a faint voice, "I'll divorce." Deciding then and there, I pushed the half-completed divorce papers towards him. The relatives and my best friend could be witnesses. We quickly sorted out the necessary documents for the divorce. Then Sala brought up an important matter to the relatives. "You broke my umbrella stand. It was a handcrafted piece by a famous designer. Bought on my first trip abroad to France. There is no duplicate, so you'll compensate with an equivalent value." She showed the relatives the document. They turned pale. I looked and saw the stand cost $5,000. However, I can't forgive my relatives for destroying something that my friend Sala liked. Sala agreed to forgive them without additional compensation, just the value of the stand. The relatives agreed to pay for an equivalent $5,000 stand. They angrily told Elf, "This is all your fault, remember that." Next was Elf's turn. First, he had to cover the cost and compensation for the sudden cancellation of the sister-in-law's couple's wedding. The preliminary estimate was around $50,000. Elf's demeanor sunk further at the amount, but that wasn't all. There would be compensation in the divorce case against me. I had lost all trust and respect for Elf. Of course, we would also get compensation from his mistress in the divorce case. I left the future divorce proceedings to Sela. I didn't want to see either Elf or his mistress again. Sela, knowing everything, was determined to help me. Elf's misfortunes continued. His boss was one of the relatives, and the scandal spread to his workplace. He was demoted, and his pride couldn't take it, leading him to resign. I heard from a friend that the mistress was a freeloader with no stable job. Originally, the mistress didn't have much financial stability and struggled to find steady employment. Elf, having become unemployed, quickly parted ways with her due to their lack of funds. Indeed, it seems when the money goes, the honey goes. Elf now had to work day jobs and part-time at a convenience store to repay the compensation for the divorce case and Anne's wedding venue costs. He once came to me begging for sympathy after realizing the consequences of his actions, but I felt none. Furthermore, after receiving severe criticism from the relatives, Elf moved out of state. His current whereabouts are unknown, but since the compensation for the divorce case has been paid, that's all that matters to me. After the wedding cancellation, Anne and I lost contact. I tried reaching out a few times, but my messages were unread, leading me to realize she had blocked me. I wanted to clear the misunderstanding, but rumors suggested Anne was recovering well, so I didn't contact her, not wanting to revive unpleasant memories. However, after the divorce, I received a call from Anne and was crying when I answered, "Elda, I'm sorry, I panicked back then and believed everyone when they said you canceled the wedding. I know you care too much to do that, I'm sorry." I was just happy to hear from her. The misunderstanding seemed trivial now. "Thank you for calling, Anne. It's understandable to panic in such a situation. I'm glad you understand. Are you feeling better now?" Anne, unable to stop her tears, wanted to meet, so we went out for drinks that night. There she shared some good news. She's planning another wedding, but this time it will be a small family-only affair, so I decided not to attend and apologize for her big brother's actions. Since Elf and Anne are different individuals, there's no issue in continuing our relationship. I'm relieved the misunderstanding is cleared. Since that incident, I have been focusing on my work, which has been my salvation. For now, I'm not interested in romance and want to concentrate on my career.